One of the ways you can grow as a photographer is to look at people's work who you admire and see, can I learn from this? And so today we thought we'd challenge ourselves and see if we can learn to take pictures like Peter McKinnon.
No pressure.
No pressure. When we were doing weddings, we would often ask the client for their favorite photos, and we'd be looking for patterns, right? So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to look at Peter McKinnon's Instagram portfolio, see what we can see as far as what he's doing over and over and over again in little ways that tie everything together, that create that Peter McKinnon look. And then we're going to try and find a photo that we can mimic. And just taking that photo, going through the process, we should learn a lot about things that work for him and things that we can maybe then take and apply to our photography to improve it.
Already, I'm like, we're in trouble.
We're in trouble already. Yeah.
No. First impressions, I am seeing a lot of really crushed blacks.
Punchy, I think, maybe is a word to use. His photos are often isolating a simple color palette. Like there's not a lot of different colors going on. Almost black and white with, colors popped in. That tea kettle, orange, blue background. It makes the image very striking. I loved that shot of his. Like that was just great.
That's true. That is a very
and watching that video, we know that wasn't the color of the trees, right? It was fall, but those were not. Like he's isolated the colors in there a lot.
Gonna pull the Raptor in, do some truck shots, do a couple portraits. It looks insane.
Obviously, a lot of Peter McKinnon's look is in his editing, but there's also certain things in the way he takes the photos that make it unique. Even if he didn't edit it, you would kind of still recognize it as his. He's very good at isolating subjects, but yet at the same time still showing the environment often. Like lens-wise, he does have obviously some very wide lens shots, but he also has obviously some longer lens as well that is compressing the background. Like, and even that shot's probably long lens, right? Even though it's a landscape shot. He's got a lot of depth in his image. Maybe that's the way to say it. He's got a lot of depth in his images. And then occasionally he'll switch it up and just do something that's, totally flat. Lighting wise, it's very cinematic backlighting. Like even that coffee photo has a lot of drama. It helps the colors pop. Things look very rich. Sometimes when I'm looking through his Instagram account, because he's in so much, I'm like, is this actually signature Peter McKinnon or is it signature Kirk?
Because he's in so many of them.
Kirk's probably taken half of these pictures. There's one of his classic floating shots. He does a lot of those, right? Where he's
maybe we could do that.
Kind of levitating. I think we should do one of those personally because it's just so classic.
I feel like honestly a lot of them too feel like there's something happening. Right? Like it's not just like, oh, stand here, I'm going to take a photo. There's a doing, like he's driving his truck or he's making coffee. He has an interesting story in the foreground, but in the background, he has a lot of amazing landscape.
He's getting up early, getting off the path, moving stuff, doing the work that's required to get a photo that looks amazing, right? So that's part of what makes Peter McKinnon's stuff his stuff, is he's not taking shortcuts. Okay, so I think we've observed enough, we've done enough research, we kind of have an idea what's holding some of the common elements of Peter McKinnon's stuff together, and we just need to go out and try it now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right.
The first couple shots we've chosen are when Peter was in Iceland. He took some pictures where Maddie was standing on top of their Jeep, and then also where Peter was just leaning against it, looking cool, and looking at his shots. So we're going to try and mimic those.
On the first shot, what I was looking at is that it is a wide angle and it is shot low down to the ground. It also, what I really liked about it is it had the sun behind Peter kind of coming through. Again, it's kind of cloudy today, which I'm kind of disappointed of. So the sun is peeking through some, but not quite as much as I would have liked it to.
It will make the shadows softer rather than harder, and so that will be a difference, but you can never choose perfect conditions. You're always going to have to work with what you got, even if you plan ahead.
And I'm a little bit nervous because I wore sandals today and I'll be standing in a thistle field.
That also may be Peter McKinnon-esque. He never seems to wear the appropriate footwear either, so
There you go.
maybe it's part of the inspiration.
Yeah. pull it out towards me. You should be on that side because I want the sun behind. Yeah, it looks way better.
So in this shot, we're noticing that the subject is against the sun's in the background, beautifully backlit with golden light. We're also noticing it's a long lens, shallow aperture. In the foreground, they had a little hill that they could use to help create depth. I'll try and use the grass to do that. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of height there, so I'm not convinced it will really work. So the next shot we're gonna try is the one where he's running towards his truck in the woods. Once again, we're on the prairies. We don't have cool woods like that. It's also not fall, so colors and things will be different, but there's a lot we can mimic out of that shot.
This one, what I'm nervous about is just the lighting because we're losing our sun and it will be backlit in this shot.
And lighting is such a huge part of any photo. So wide angle, low to the ground, the camera kind of shooting up. Now that we get over here, she's framing the car and she's wondering if it actually isn't a wide angle lens, that it actually might be a zoom lens. She's got a 17 to 50 right now, but we might need to switch to the 70 to 200 to get the compression.
Stop. Right there.
Suddenly our car doesn't look so bad. Okay, so we're gonna do the classic Peter McKinnon float. Jill's gonna try the jump and I'll try and take the picture. What's your guess on that lens? Like, should I try a long lens or a short lens? We're gonna try it with a wide, like a short lens. I don't know what he does. He makes it look effortless, whatever he's doing. I thought that was gonna be the easy one, for sure. And it was not. That was way harder than it looks. I don't know, that was hard. Okay.
It's the skinny jeans. There's no question on that.
It's the skinny jeans. That's what it is.
I think our biggest takeaway, like for me, was just realizing how much when we're like, hey, we're gonna do photos of Peter McKinnon, and then we sat down and actually started analyzing, and I realized like he does really good photos, but he also takes them in amazing places. One of the things that really became apparent to me is so much of Peter McKinnon's style is in his edit.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of it's in the edit.
Yeah.
So when we took the pictures, we were like, are these gonna work? Are they okay?
It felt
quite what we maybe wanted them to be.
A little bit lame because we're like, okay, he's in Iceland and he's on this like cool Jeep and we're in our town and we're on our 15-year-old car.
A car that's falling apart. You know, so we'll start with that one, right? The first pictures we chose are some of the ones where he was in Iceland with Maddie and they're standing on top of their Range Rover. Sunset, the landscape's beautiful, the lighting is beautiful. The first thing I noticed is that we shot these first two pictures in JPEG by accident. A classic Peter McKinnon mistake, actually.
This photo here broke my heart. So I shot them all in small JPEG.
Just had a heart complication.
Right?
Yeah.
Bringing in the authenticity. I was surprised what I could actually do with them because his pictures are very punchy in the edit. They just very high contrast. They're very gritty. It was amazing to me just how much adding like a heavy grain, and I did kind of like a silver rich grain filter, how much that by itself made a big difference. He really likes his vignette masking, like a circle mask. And bringing down that vignette, a very heavy vignette, and often very tight. His blacks are crushed. Like he crushes his blacks so that there's no detail in them really quick, but they're not fully black. They're actually just sitting a little bit above black most of the time. And that kind of gives it, I think, like a little bit of that film feel he's going for in our case, because our shadows weren't long and hard like they had here. I used a graduated mask from the bottom to just mask out all that grass down there, so there wasn't all that detail distracting the eye and make that black. That helped a lot, using the clarity and definition sliders to kind of bring in a little bit more of that pop. And then he messes with his colors a lot, right? We said it's almost like his photos are two-tone, and didn't quite figure out a great way to replicate that, but they're almost a two-tone photo. Sometimes even actually only like a one-tone photo. There's like a predominant color, and then there's like a contrast color. And we can actually see that a little bit better in the second Range Rover photo. You've got the warm tones of the entire image. Maddie's got a white, warm jacket on, warm orange color, and then he's got a little bit of blue in the vignette, and that's kind of cool. So I was able to replicate that in our photo as well on another angle. Are they as good as Peter's? No, but if we were to do this a couple more times in different environments, we'd start to get some pretty good results, I think. The third image we chose was from the same set where Peter's leaning against the hood of the Range Rover, looking at his camera. Now, in this case, their environment was they're on a beach. There's got black sand. The sun's shining in warmly. We've got green trees. It's the middle of summer, totally different color. So it's gonna feel a little bit different. And I didn't think the original picture here was, it was okay. The original picture was okay, but when you did the edit on it, it actually suddenly it's a lot more exciting. I've never edited in this style before. I've never edited gritty or punchy. Like, that's just not been, when we edit photos, we tend to be editing lifestyle stuff. It's fairly vibrant and lifelike and soft at the same time. Yeah. Deep, rich colors, but also bright, and that's not what Peter is doing. So it's actually been quite a good experience that way.
Okay, so you really wanted to get like this iconic Peter McKinnon floating shot.
In retrospect, looking at both of Peter's photos, once I got in editing, it was like, no, he did a long lens. But I think it still works here. It's almost like an HDR look, actually, pulling down the highlights. He's saving the detail in the shadows and then compressing and crushing the shadows. So he kind of pulls everything down into this HDR, so there's all the detail, and then he expands it up again, is kind of, to me, what it looks like he's doing in the edit.
And then this last one is just an amazing shot that Peter McKinnon did. And we tried. I feel like this one, you got the look okay on the edit, but I kind of feel like it's the one that bombed to me. Just because, it's an amazing shot Peter did.
Yeah, we made a number of
lens choice mistakes.
Of errors here, right? We shot low angle, which looks good on the car, but we shouldn't have been quite that low. And then we should have been way, way, way back, and maybe shooting like 135 instead of 70. And then that would have given me a lot more room to run. And I should have given it a little bit more and tried to get off the ground, because that's one of the cool things about his shot is that he's mid-stride, but he's floating and you can see his shadow. And I was always making, point of contact. Maybe Peter's just better at getting off the ground, as pointed out by the floating shot. That in itself would have made a difference. We also didn't have the trees. He went out to find this location in the fall.
Oh, it's amazing, right?
But at the same time, once again, I had given up on this shot, because when we took it, I was like, there's no way that this is going to look any good. The picture is kind of lame. And but when I started editing it and trying to match his style, once again, that punchiness, it makes it work a lot better.
And then I think one of the biggest things that I was like kicking myself for on this one that would have been so easy is just turning on the headlights. Like,
yeah,
I'm a big fan of light, and then later it was like, you turn on the headlights. It looks so much better.
We haven't shot cars much, so no. There's a lesson learned too, right? Okay, headlights on. When you can, that would look so much better.
Yeah, I think it was really fun just being able to go and really analyze some other photographers, because you realize sometimes you just get stuck in a rut of like shooting how you always shoot. You get things that work, and then you just trying to stick to them. And so it's been a while since I'd really tried to push outside of my style. So it's kind of fun. And we'd really like to do some more photographers coming up here. So.
Yeah, we've got ideas for, a couple more photographers that we'd really like to try and mimic, but we would love to hear if there's a photographer whose work you guys really appreciate. And you just put that name in the comments below, and we'll look them up and see, maybe we'll try some that you guys recommend as well. So leave those comments below, and we will see you in the next video.